My name is Daniel Brooks. I'm 48 years old, a husband of, until recently, 22 years, a father of two, and an electrical contractor by trade. I've spent most of my life building things: homes, businesses, relationships. I used to believe that if you laid down a strong enough foundation, kept the corners square, supported the load, weatherproofed the weak spots, it would last a lifetime. I believed that about my marriage, too. Cynthia and I met in college. I was rough around the edges back then, wore steel-toed boots to lecture halls and smelled more like engine oil than cologne. She was all polish and presence. Sharp, elegant, laughed with her whole face. She could shut a man down with one look or light up a room with half a smile. When we first met, I couldn't believe someone like her would even bother with a guy like me. She said she liked how grounded I was. Said I made her feel safe. Maybe that was the first warning sign. Women chase fireworks when they're young, but eventually they want shelter. Trouble is, shelter gets taken for granted. You stop noticing the roof overhead until it leaks. For years, it was good, stable, solid. We raised two kids, made a home, paid off the mortgage early. Sunday morning pancakes, Friday night movies, quiet evenings with shared glances that said more than words ever could. She used to fall asleep with her head on my chest, and I used to think, this is what winning looks like. But lately, things changed. At first, it was small. A chill in her tone, like she was choosing her words not to connect but to avoid. She stopped laughing at my jokes, not even the bad ones. Stopped kissing me goodbye in the morning. Her phone never left her hand, always buzzing, always face down when I entered the room. She'd start wearing lipstick to run errands, heels to go grocery shopping, outfits that had no business outside a nightclub. I'd wake up alone some nights and find the sheets beside me untouched. I made excuses. Told myself she was stressed. Maybe hitting midlife turbulence. We'd been through rough patches before. We'd lost her father, dealt with layoffs, nearly lost our youngest to pneumonia when he was 6. We got through all of that. I figured this was just another season. But seasons don't wear fishnet tops and come home smelling like aftershave I don't own. Denial doesn't die in one blow, it dies slow. It dies in the silence after you say, I love you, and hear nothing back. It dies when you wake up before dawn, look over, and realize you don't know the person beside you anymore. It dies when trust turns into paranoia, and paranoia starts looking more like common sense. One night, after she claimed she was staying late for a team strategy session, I sat in the kitchen drinking warm beer and listening to the sound of my own breathing. The kids were at a friend's house. I was alone, and I knew, deep down, this wasn't a phase. So I called someone who'd know. His name's Paul. We've been friends since high school, shared more beers, bruises, and bad decisions than I can count. He got divorced 5 years ago after walking in on his wife in their bedroom with a co-worker from her yoga studio. Said it broke him, then built him into someone stronger. He never looked back. I hadn't told him what was going on yet. But when I asked to meet, he said, your voice already told me what you want. We met at our old bar, the one with bad lighting and cheap nachos that somehow still taste like home. I laid it all out. Every suspicion, every cold shoulder, every weird lie she didn't even bother to polish. Paul didn't flinch. Just listened. Then leaned in and said something I didn't expect. Danny, if you want to know the truth, I've got a business card you might want to see. I blinked. What? He pulled out a plain white card. No name, just a number. Below it, in small type, Elite Personal Services, discretion guaranteed. I stared at it. You're giving me the number of an escort service? He nodded slowly. You're not calling for what you think. You're calling because if she's who I think she's become, you might find out more than you're ready for. I looked at that card for a long time. I didn't touch it. Not yet. But that was the night I stopped pretending this was salvageable. Paul took a long sip of his drink, his eyes not meeting mine at first. The jukebox in the corner was playing some sad 90s ballad, and the low hum of the bar did little to cover the weight of what he was about to say. You know, he began, swirling the ice in his glass, I found out about Jessica because I came home early on a Wednesday. He paused, gave a wry little smile. Not even a dramatic day. Just a slow job site. I figured I'd surprise her, maybe take her out. She always said I never did that enough. He chuckled bitterly. Turns out she was right. I didn't surprise her enough. Caught her mid-laugh with some guy named Reggie in my damn kitchen, wearing my shirt. Reggie sold insurance. Real charming type. Liked to call me champ. You know what broke me more than the sight of her on the counter, Dan? I shook my head, silent. She didn't look guilty. She looked relieved. Like I'd finally caught up to the part of the story she was already done reading. I didn't know what to say. Paul wasn't the type to get emotional. Even when his dad died, he was the one holding everyone else together. But that night, in that bar, I saw it. Something cracked behind his eyes. Not fresh pain. Not even bitterness. Just a memory that had gone cold. He continued, "You keep hoping she'll snap out of it, don't you?" I nodded slowly. "It's like I'm still waiting for the woman I married to walk back through the door." "She's not coming back, Dan," he said plainly. "I don't say that to be cruel. I say that because I wished on that same star. Burned months trying to be the better man, trying to fix what I didn't break. You've got to stop hoping and start digging." I frowned. Digging? For the truth. Stop looking the other way. Stop waiting for her to confess. She won't. You need facts, not feelings. You get those facts, you control the outcome. That's when he slid the card toward me. Not aggressively. Not like a dealer at a blackjack table. Just a quiet nudge. I picked it up. Plain white, embossed print. No frills. "Why are you giving me this?" I asked. Paul leaned back. "Because when I finally hit bottom, I didn't need a therapist, I needed proof. I hired a private investigator. He didn't come cheap, and he didn't get results fast. But later, after the dust settled, I met someone in that world, a woman who used to work as an escort. She told me half her clients were men trying to find out if their wives were doing the same thing behind their backs. She started her own agency. Very niche. High-end. Not the sleazy kind." I snorted. "And you think I should?" "What?" "Hire one. Not for what you think. You don't need a date. You need bait." I stared at the card like it might bite me. "I'm not sure what disgusts me more," I said. "The idea, or how much it makes sense." Paul shrugged. "No one's judging you. Least of all me. But let me ask you this. How long are you going to let her walk all over your name, your home, your dignity?" I said nothing. He added, softer this time, "You know she's not just leaving late for work. You know she's not texting a friend at midnight. You've got the instincts, Dan. What you need now is evidence." I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just pocketed the card and changed the subject. We talked sports after that. Politics. The kind of things men talk about when there's a hurricane in the background and they're pretending they can't hear the wind howling. But that night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed beside her. Cynthia. Wearing a lace camisole she hadn't touched in years until recently. She smelled like someone else's cologne. She didn't reach for me. Just turned her back, her thumb busy on the screen, smiling at messages I'd never read. I stared at the ceiling, and I thought, what if I called that number? Not for revenge. Not for some sad, desperate thrill. No, what I had in mind was something different. Something cold. Controlled. I wasn't going to fight this in the dark anymore. I was going to turn the lights on and let her see exactly how much I knew. 2 days later, I booked a hotel room. Fake name. Paid in cash. Mid-range business hotel just off the highway. Classy enough not to raise eyebrows. Anonymous enough to be forgotten. The plan wasn't fully formed yet, but I could feel it taking shape. I wasn't hoping anymore. I was building. The room smelled faintly of bleach and disappointment, like most hotel rooms do. Beige walls, a worn armchair, the kind of abstract art they hang up just to break the silence. I'd picked the room for 2 reasons: ground floor for a quick exit and a wide-angle view from the corner lamp. That's where I had hidden the camera. I spent the better part of the afternoon rigging the place like a crime scene waiting for its criminal. The audio recorder, voice-activated, was tucked behind a decorative vase on the dresser. The camera lens was no bigger than a pinhole, disguised by the faux gold base of the lamp. I tested it from every angle, checking the focus, the lighting. I left a bottle of wine on the desk. 2 glasses. One untouched. One with a lipstick mark I smudged myself for effect. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was preparation. The hotel room wasn't just a room now. It was a stage. And I wasn't the husband anymore. I was the man behind the curtain. There was still a part of me, buried somewhere under the resentment and grit, that didn't want it to be her. Maybe this was just a horrible misunderstanding. Maybe some other woman would walk through that door and I'd feel shame instead of the sick satisfaction of confirmation. Maybe I'd even feel relief. I went over the script in my head again and again. Not the kind of script you say out loud, but the tone, the rhythm, the tempo. How I'd pause. What I'd let hang in the air. What I'd not say. I wasn't looking for drama. I didn't want to fight. I wanted the truth. And the truth doesn't need raised voices. It just needs a good recording. I checked my watch. 10 minutes past the time. I sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on knees, palms sweating. My heart was doing jumping jacks behind my ribs. Every sound outside made my neck snap toward the door. And then it came. 3 knocks. Not timid, not aggressive, just enough to signal someone who didn't expect trouble. I stood, walked slowly to the door. My hand hovered over the handle, just for a moment. Not in hesitation, just awareness. This was the moment. The moment everything shifted. After this, there'd be no pretending. I opened the door, and there she was. Cynthia, my wife, in a tight black dress I'd never seen before, hugging curves I hadn't touched in months. Her hair was curled, her makeup immaculate, her heels the kind that made noise when she walked, the kind she used to say were too much for a night out with me. She looked expensive, deliberate, and when she saw me, really saw me standing in that doorway, the fake name on the booking, the hotel key in my hand, her face went blank. A full-body flinch hidden beneath practiced poise. "Danny," she said, like she couldn't believe it. Her mouth hung open slightly. The mask slipped. Just for a second. I didn't move, didn't smile, didn't scream. Instead, I stepped aside and gestured toward the room. "You might as well come in," I said quietly. "It's already recording." She froze. And then her eyes darted, not toward me, but toward the lamp. Smart girl, but not smart enough. For a moment, she didn't move. Cynthia stood just inside the door, blinking like she'd been slapped by the air itself. The confident posture, the one she always carried into boardrooms and brunches, wavered. Her hand slowly reached behind her to pull the door shut, and she stood with her back against it like she wanted to block the exit, or make sure I didn't bolt. "It's not what it looks like," she said, voice already cracking at the edges. I nodded slowly, not in agreement, but as if I were giving her space to bury herself. "No," I said. "Then by all means." I reached over to the dresser, pressed the button on the small digital recorder. A faint red light blinked to life. "Start from the top." Her eyes widened. She glanced around the room again, her gaze snagging briefly on the lamp. Then the wine glasses. Then the camera bag on the chair. She knew. She knew she wasn't walking into some awkward coincidence. This was built, engineered, and now it was time for her to perform. "Danny, I didn't know it was you," she said, voice fluttering. "That much is obvious." I thought." Her voice trailed off. "You thought someone else would be here," I finished. "Who? Let's get that on tape." She opened her mouth, closed it, then took a shaky breath. "I swear, I wasn't going to go through with anything. I just wanted to feel wanted again." That line. That old, tired line. Like a stale rerun of a show I never liked to begin with. She stepped forward, her heels muffled against the cheap carpet. "Danny, please, let's talk about this. Don't turn this into a..." "I'm not turning this into anything, Cynthia," I said quietly. "You already did." She crumbled faster than I expected. Maybe it was the quiet in my voice. Maybe it was the blinking red light. Maybe she realized, finally, that this wasn't about catching her in the act. It was about exposing the story she'd rewritten without me in it. "You haven't touched me in months," she said, like it was my fault. "You're always tired, always working. I feel invisible in that house." I stared at her, level and unmoved. "So you made yourself visible to someone else." Her lip trembled. She sat down on the edge of the bed, suddenly looking much smaller in that skin-tight dress. "I didn't plan for it to go this far. I didn't think you'd notice." I almost laughed at that. Didn't think I'd notice. Like I'd been some background actor in my own life. Like I hadn't heard the phone calls in the bathroom. The perfume that wasn't hers. The sudden interest in Pilates at 10 p.m. "Does he have a name?" I asked, not because I needed it, but because I wanted to hear how far she'd go to protect him. She didn't answer. She just started crying. Big, slow tears, the kind she used to save for funerals and heartbreak movies. The kind meant to reel someone back in. They hit the carpet with a soft sound, barely audible, like water slipping through cracks. "You plan to meet a stranger in a hotel room and cheat on your husband," I said, calm as a judge. "You weren't looking for comfort. You were looking for distance. And you found it." "Please, Danny," she whispered, her voice raw. "Can't we just talk about this? Really talk?" I made a mistake. "No," I said, reaching over to press stop on the recorder. "You made a decision." I slid the recorder into my coat pocket. She didn't try to stop me. At the door, I turned and looked at her one last time. "Everything you said just now? That's who you really are. And now I have proof." She stared at me, mouth slightly open, face streaked with mascara. She didn't beg. Not this time. She knew the door had closed before I even opened it. I walked out without slamming it. Tape in my pocket. Future in my hands. People always think betrayal hits you like a lightning strike. Sudden, sharp, devastating. But the truth is, real betrayal seeps in slow, like a leak behind a wall. You don't notice it until the paint bubbles, until the rot sets in and the foundation starts to sag. By then, it's not a surprise. It's just proof of what you already knew. After the night at the hotel, people assumed I lost it, that I must have gone straight to the house, thrown her things on the lawn, broken something glassware, or maybe a bone. That's how movies handle this kind of thing. But real life? Real life is quieter, colder, more precise. Because I didn't just catch Cynthia. I built the trap. It started about 6 months earlier. I was sitting on the couch watching her get ready for a networking event. She spent 45 minutes on her makeup, sprayed on perfume that cost more than my first set of tools, wore a dress that, let's say, didn't leave much to the imagination, and trust me, my imagination tried. She barely said goodbye when she left. Just grabbed her clutch, checked her phone, and vanished like smoke. I started noticing things after that. Patterns. The small consistencies that only exist when someone's lying. The second wine glass left in the sink. Her gym bag in the passenger seat on a night she said she wasn't working out. The phone always face down. Notifications silenced. A passcode she used to share suddenly locked tight. I didn't confront her. I studied her. Checked our cell phone bill and highlighted every unfamiliar number. Looked up addresses tied to location pings. I even went full detective: shadow apps, recovery logins, cloud syncs. It's amazing what a careless person leaves behind on a shared iPad. I kept notes. Dates. Times. Duration of calls. I even took screenshots when I could. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was curious. And the more I uncovered, the more clarity I had. It wasn't the intimacy. It wasn't the lies. It was the contempt. Years of it, stacked like bricks behind every smile. The way she started rolling her eyes when I spoke. The way she'd sigh when I got home from work like my presence was a burden. The way I became invisible in my own house, just a maintenance man with a mortgage. She didn't just fall out of love. She rose above me in her mind, built a new identity on the ruins of our old one, and decided I was no longer worthy of honesty. That's what stung. Not who she slept with, but that she looked at me every day and believed I'd never be smart enough to figure it out. That's when I called Martin Goldstein, family lawyer. Wore tweed in July. Looked like a turtle and billed like a shark. He was blunt. You have a prenup? Yep, I said, and slid it across the table. He flipped through it, nodded. Good bones. Fidelity clause. Section 8. Page 6. He grinned. Even better. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for freedom. And I wasn't about to pay alimony for a woman who viewed me as an outdated appliance. Martin helped me move assets. Started the paperwork. Quietly, methodically. We drafted a strategy, because that's what it was. Not an outburst. Not some emotional Hail Mary. A strategy. Proof of infidelity. Check. Asset reallocation. Check. Witness testimony? I had Paul on standby. We filed under irreconcilable differences. California has no-fault divorce laws, but the documentation was airtight. Photos. Messages. The audio recording. Hell, even the hotel receipt was itemized and stamped. Martin smiled at the stack like it was a blueprint to a clean demolition. This isn't going to be fun, he said, but you're going to come out on the other side with your house, your retirement, and your dignity intact. I looked him dead in the eye. I'm not here for fun, Martin. I'm here to finish the job. Divorce court isn't like what you see on TV. There's no dramatic cross-examinations or weeping confessions from the witness stand. It's more like the DMV got dressed up in a suit and decided to play God for the day. Fluorescent lighting. Cold benches. A bailiff who looked like he hadn't blinked since the Clinton administration. But I wasn't there for the theatrics. I was there for closure. Cynthia sat across the courtroom from me in a navy blazer 2 sizes too expensive for the woman who used to roll her eyes when I balanced our budget. Her hair was tied back, no jewelry, makeup downplayed to look humble. The whole image screamed responsible adult, wronged wife, respectable professional. Her lawyer, a smug little weasel named Trent Whitmore, tried to make me out as cold, controlling, emotionally distant. Said Cynthia had felt isolated for years. That she acted out due to neglect, not malice. He said the words emotional abandonment like he'd just discovered fire. I didn't flinch. My lawyer, Martin, God bless that leathery old bastard, stood up, adjusted his glasses, and said, Your Honor, we'd like to submit Exhibit A through G. First came the call logs, then the GPS history, then the synced text messages, the photos, the audio recording. When the judge heard my wife's voice say, "I just wanted to feel wanted again," followed by my voice calmly stating, "You plan to meet a stranger in a hotel room and cheat on your husband," something shifted. Not in the room. In her. She wouldn't even look at me. Her lawyer scrambled to object, citing entrapment, privacy concerns, throwing every cheap dart he had at the wall. But none of it stuck. This was civil court. I didn't plan a bug. I asked a question, got an answer, and pressed record. Open and shut. The judge, a woman in her late 50s with a reputation for hating drama, leaned forward and asked Cynthia directly, "Did you agree to meet a man at a hotel under the belief that he was not your husband?" Cynthia nodded, eyes fixed on the floor. "Did you say the things we just heard in that recording?" Another nod. I didn't smirk. I didn't gloat. I just sat there like a man who showed up to do a job and brought his receipts. When the ruling came down, it was swift and surgical. House? Awarded to me, full rights. Her name removed from the deed. Retirement and pension? Untouched. I've been paying into that since I was 22. The car, my truck, the one she used to mock for not being executive enough, stayed mine. And the cherry on top? Spousal support, reversed. Turns out that fidelity clause in the prenup wasn't just decorative. The judge cited breach of contract. Not only would Cynthia not receive any support, she'd be paying me. Monthly. Direct deposit. A neat, quiet little transaction that would remind her of what she lost every time her bank account dipped below her lifestyle. Her lawyer tried one last appeal for leniency. Said she was going through emotional trauma. Said the court should consider her personal growth. Martin didn't even stand. Just handed the judge a manila folder with one more photo, her sitting on the lap of a man I later confirmed was married himself, timestamped during our separation. The judge didn't even look up. She just said, "Motion denied." Afterward, in the hallway, Cynthia approached me. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, but spiritually. Like someone who had been living off borrowed confidence and finally got the invoice. "You didn't have to go that far," she said. I met her gaze, calm and clear. "No," I replied. "I had to go that exact far." And then I walked away. No parting shot. No angry monologue. Just the sound of my boots echoing down the courthouse corridor and the quiet knowledge that, for once, she was the one left behind. You think you know who your friends are. Then a marriage ends, and suddenly the room feels a lot emptier. At first, there was silence. That awkward, careful hush people adopt when they're not sure who to comfort. The invitations dried up. Joint text threads stopped buzzing. People got real bad at eye contact at the grocery store. But then the whispers started. Not from me. I didn't go around waving the evidence like a victory flag. I didn't need to. Truth has a funny way of crawling out of the cracks all on its own. One neighbor saw her sneaking out of the house in stilettos while I was away on a job. Another had overheard something about the hotel room. Someone else, God bless nosy suburban fences, caught the tail end of an argument in our driveway and connected the dots. By the time it reached Cynthia's workplace, it wasn't a whisper anymore. It was a storm. Turns out, when you work for a high-profile marketing firm that sells integrity and family-first values to corporate clients, getting caught trying to rendezvous with a stranger in a hotel room while still married? Not the kind of press they like. Her boss didn't care about her excuses. Didn't care about emotional trauma or self-discovery. They handed her a termination letter wrapped in HR language about conduct unbecoming, and just like that, 15 years of ladder climbing turned into a dead-end street. Her LinkedIn page went dark. Her office friends, people she used to name-drop like awards, stopped returning calls. One even blocked her. The same woman she once said would be her maid of honor if we ever renewed our vows. Her own sister, Janine, the always perfect older sibling who once warned me, "Cynthia likes to win more than she likes to love," left a voicemail. I heard it. She didn't know I was in the room when Cynthia played it. "You made your bed," Janine said flatly. "Now lie in it." I won't explain this to Mom. The part that really stung? Cynthia didn't even cry. She just sat there, glassy-eyed, clutching a bottle of red wine like a life preserver. She started calling our mutual friends. Left messages. Reached out on Facebook. Some responded politely. Some didn't respond at all. A few tried to remain neutral, but when they heard the whole story, heard how it all unfolded, how deliberate it was, they pulled back. No one wants to stand next to the fire when the smoke's still fresh. Meanwhile, I kept my head down. I didn't badmouth her to the kids. Didn't plaster my version of events across social media. I worked, came home, cooked dinner, fixed the leaky faucet in the downstairs bathroom I'd been meaning to get to for months. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost to married life. Started going to the gym again. Put in a new fence out back. Refinished the deck. Quiet, steady progress, brick by brick. The same neighbors who once greeted me with nods now stopped me to talk. Asked how I was doing. Invited me for beers. Turns out people respect restraint more than rage. Maybe they saw something in the way I didn't lash out. Maybe they were just curious how I walked through fire and didn't burn down the whole damn block. Even after everything. Even after the coldness, the lies, the contempt. If she'd fallen to her knees, begged me, told me she remembered the man I was, I might have cracked. Might have reached for her hand. Might have believed we could rebuild. But not anymore. Because now I'd started rebuilding me. I dropped 20 pounds. Switched to black coffee. No more beer belly or late-night pizza. I started walking at sunrise, lifting weights in the garage, punching a heavy bag I hung from the rafters. Not to punish myself, just to remember I was alive. Hell, I even started dating. Nothing serious. Just coffee, conversation. Proof that I wasn't invisible. Paul came by one Saturday, saw the new deck I'd put in. Said it looked better than the one we built back in '09. Then he laughed, handed me a beer, and said, "You went from doormat to demolition crew." I laughed too. Not because he was wrong, but because he had no idea just how much I was still building. It happened on a Sunday. I was sanding down a piece of pine in the garage, building a new coffee table just for the hell of it. Something simple, clean-lined, solid. Like everything else in my life these days. The knock came soft, almost guilty. At first, I thought it was a neighbor or a delivery, but when I stepped out and saw her standing there, hair undone, sunglasses pushed up like a failed disguise, I knew better. Cynthia. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically, she still carried herself with that practiced posture, but something about her had wilted. Her eyes were red-rimmed, skin blotchy. She wasn't wearing makeup, or maybe she'd cried it all off in the car. I didn't say a word. She cleared her throat. "Hey," she said, voice barely above a whisper. I nodded once. "Hey." A long pause. The kind that stretches too far for casual. The wind picked up, brushed her hair across her face. She didn't bother tucking it back. "I was driving by," she lied. I let it hang there. She shifted. I just wanted to talk. I've been meaning to. I know I have no right, but..." She trailed off, as darting toward the house like she was hoping for some thread of memory to come save her. I waited. She took a breath. "I've been in a bad place. I lost the job. Janine won't return my calls. People talk. It's like everything just fell apart." Still I said nothing. Her voice cracked. "I made mistakes. Big ones. I was lost, Danny. I thought I needed something more. I thought you didn't care anymore." And now she paused, blinking hard. Now I see how wrong I was. She looked at me, searching. "I'm not asking for you to take me back. I know that ships sailed. I need closure. Can't we at least talk like human beings? You meant something to me. We had a life." I looked at her. Really looked. And for a split second, I could still see the woman I married. The one who used to fall asleep on my chest after long road trips. The one who sang along to Springsteen while painting the nursery. The one who once kissed me in the rain like we were teenagers. But that woman didn't exist anymore. She'd burned her own bridge and tried to send me the bill. I stepped forward, calm and steady. "You already had closure, Cynthia," I said softly. "You just didn't feel it until the door hit you on the way out." Her breath caught in her throat. A little gasp, like the echo of something shattered. I didn't yell, didn't curse. Just turned, walked to the front door, and opened it, not as an invitation, but a statement. She took the hint. Wordlessly, she nodded. The tears were real now. And for the first time in a long time, they weren't currency. She walked slowly back to her car, head low, footsteps heavy. I closed the door behind me. Not fast. Not with force. Just with finality. Viewers, this is the end of the story. We would be very grateful for your likes, comments, subscriptions, and sharing of our stories. See you next time.